You are listening to Footy Talk, your daily dose of news, interviews and analysis from the world of AFL. I'm joined by Jay-Z Clark, the best in the business. I hope you treated yourself to a bottle of red last night, Jay. It's been a big couple of weeks. Trade period finished. We are going to have all the recap, all the insights, all the little stories that may not have got out. We are going to get them here on today's show. First of all, welcome to you. How do you feel that trade period is finally done and dusted?
Oh, it's a great day today, Joey, when the trade period's finally over.
Monday or?
Well, I got my favourite wine, St. Henri. Got a bottle of that ready. Taking the family to Crown this weekend. We're going to jump and swim in the pool for a couple of days and just
reconnect with the family.
You reconnect with the family after a long 8 months, Joey. So I think they still love me, but we'll find out. I tell you what, it was an interesting day yesterday. I mean, we haven't had the absolute superstar power this trade period. So there have been clubs sort of operating around the fringes a little bit. And I don't know. I think it all sort of got done in the end, didn't it? Because there was no Joe Danaher left waiting. There was no sort of any players left stranded. All the deals got done.
Fair to say no Jeremy Cameron in this year's trade period, just waiting to get done late. But take us behind... We'll get to Marbiol. Let's take us behind the scenes because the final day, all 18 clubs meet at Marvel Stadium. The big story was probably Port Adelaide, and were they going to land the two big fish that they'd been targeting for a long time? Essendon were playing hardball. Geelong, my God, were they playing hardball? But just talk us through, set the scene, what it was like last night at Marvel Stadium with all the clubs there and some haggling going right down to the final 30 seconds.
All the journos are in the one room, so it's like a pig pen, if you know what I mean. We're all sitting there with our little laptops like...
Who's the big rooster? Who's the one in the journos area where it just sort of struts around? Like, you know, when the footy boys are all together, if like Johnny Brown walks into the room or Stephen Kernahan, even going back a little bit, they've got, they're sort of the big rooster. Who's the big rooster amongst the AFL journos?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say when the managers and list managers come in, they got the big strut up. It's sort of like...
Who's got the biggest strut as a list manager? Is it Adrian?
Probably. I love Adrian. Yeah. People bought him. He's like every Hollywood blockbuster.
There's a bit of mafioso about him.
It needs its characters, right? And you've got the damsels in distress, you've got the heroes, the heroines, all that, and you need a good villain to sort of snigger in the corner. And that's Adrian Dodoro. And guess what? Last night, on Wednesday night, he left everyone hanging again on the final deal. But look, I guess the trickiest part is, because all the journos are all locked up in the same room, you sort of got to...
cover your work. Is there some journos that are just peeking over the shoulder? Just what's he typing? What's he writing about?
You've got to bring your laptop in close. And you got to speak quietly into the phone. And some people even cover their mouths.
Like those NFL coaches, they put the sheet up to their face.
Yes, that's exactly what happened, seriously. Do you think we could take ourselves any more seriously? And it's like, I think it's a future third. Do you think it's definitely a future third? Who gives us stuff, Joey? Geez, we take this stuff seriously. But, so what did you make of the... So we start with the Sava Radigalea because I said the Cats... Like, I don't know, they're sort of like the year 12 student who's procrastinating and leaving their research to the night before the exam, right? They've really been waiting in that last minute because it was always going to be pick 25 and a little bit of chump change. And they ended up getting, pick 76 and 94. What's Andrew Mackie doing with 76 and 94?
Does he walk away last and goes, yes, I got that bit extra. I knew because... I was sort of in the camp that Geelong did have the right to try and force Port Adelaide to find something else because Port were desperate and they needed Radigalea, and the Cats knew that.
Yep.
But as you said, in the end, was it really worth waiting that long to get pick 76? It's probably going to come into a pick in the 60s. It'll be probably one of the last picks of the draft.
Yep.
Look, it's something, but in the end, it's more of a big win for Port Adelaide. I'm always of the camp. It doesn't matter what necessarily you give up. We've done a lot of work, Jay-Z, you and I. Draft picks are lotteries. Yep. You don't know whether pick 17 is going to be better than pick 18. There is no science to it whatsoever, as much as recruiters like to think that they have nailed their order.
Yep.
But the club that need a certain player that is going to help them to try and win a flag, that's what you've got to do. And Port Adelaide, for me, they get their two men. I really like Zerk Thatcher. I think as a third defender now, behind Radigalea and Aaliyah, he's perfect. I think he showed a lot of improvement. The only times he got found out last year was when he was playing on the big bananas. He was playing on Tom Hawkins and guys that were too big for him, which is understandable. Now that he can play a role, it's going to be interesting to see how Radigalea and Aaliyah work together. Who's going to be the lockdown defender and who's going to be the interceptor?
Hey, mate, you've got him, haven't you? No, you got him.
But I like what Port Adelaide have done. So they get Radigalea. They get the two rucks as well, and you might touch on how they got Soldo done in the end. But Soldo and Sweet, they get their ruckman, they get the 2 key defenders, and they should be eyeing off a top 4 spot again next year.
Sweet and Soldo does sound like something I had for dinner last night, doesn't it? Sweet and Soldo. Yes. What about Jackie Ginnivan? Where do you sit on the Jack Ginnivan trade? The Hawks were busy. I thought they went into this trade period trying to fix their back end. They ended up loading up in the front end, which I thought was a little bit curious. But the face of this whole trade period in the end became Jack Ginnivan.
Well, you take us behind the scenes. How do you? There's been a lot of conjecture about how this unfolded. Did Jack Ginnivan initiate leaving? Did the club start shopping him around? It feels to me like that's the way it went. I don't think Jack Ginnivan, 2 weeks after winning a Flags, walked in and said, I want to go somewhere else. It feels like Collingwood probably have seen the red flags a little bit with Jack Ginnivan. They probably don't seem as being a high-end talent that he's worth working with and really like what they've done with DeGoey and some others. It was more, for me, it felt like a bit of a Jaden Stevenson. They just thought, you know what, is he going to be worth the trouble? Is he going to be a huge part of our future? Maybe. We are a ruthless footy club. On the outside, we portray this, we're all, and I actually give credit to Collingwood. I think it's the right way to go if that's how it panned out.
You're spot on, Joey. And they're ruthless, aren't they? Because they booted Brodie Grundy. He was on too much money. Stevenson, you mentioned, wasn't doing the hard work. And
Treloar was
Tommy
a tough
Fallon,
decision a few years ago.
They needed to clear him out. How damaging was he? That was a question mark on him. So Collingwood have been brutal. Yep. I reckon Graham Wright belongs on a fishing show because this is what he did with Jackie Ginnivan. He dangled him in the water and he threw out the burley to the other clubs and that drew all the little fish in. They started nibbling away and then he was done. Look, you're absolutely right, Joey. There is no doubt that Collingwood made it clear to other clubs that they were open to trading Jack Ginnivan because that's why his manager's phone kept ringing. I keep hearing, they're open to Jack. Would he be keen on a fresh start? And they go back to Collingwood and say, clubs keep ringing us. What's the go with Jack? He's just gone to Bali. You said, come back in good form. We'll be ready to go for next season. The phone keeps ringing off the hook. And then Collingwood say, well, if he wants to explore his options, then go for it.
And it's fair to say Collingwood didn't lie because then they would have had a chat to Ginnivan's manager and said, look, some clubs are interested. We've only got 1 year left on the contract. We can't guarantee what it's going to look like in the future. Maybe you should just explore your options. And then 2 days later when Jack sat with his manager and they said, look, I think it's pretty obvious. We need they come back and said, look, we might probably have to accept the trade. And Collingwood go, Jack Ginnivan's requested a trade.
This is the quickest deal done in history.
He's requested a trade.
Collingwood would say last night, we reluctantly let him go. They couldn't have done the deal quick enough. It is the fastest deal in AFL history. Anyway, so Collingwood gets Schultz, which is an upgrade. You know him well from Fremantle. Ginnivan goes to Hawthorn. Should we talk about the Hawks?
Yeah. What do you make of their draft period? Because you touched on it. They initially were after defenders. They went for Ben Mackay. They went for Radigalia. They had a crack at Liam Henry. Missed out on all those players. And in the end, they've got Marbiol Chol, Jack Ginnivan, Jack Gunston, and Massimo D'Ambrosio. Does that make them a much better team going forward?
The question for me is, the worry for me is, will they still be scored heavily against next year? Because they've been bottom 4 defensive profile for the past 4 years, Joey. So they try and get for Mackay or Radigalia. How are they going to solidify that defence? That's the question for me. They picked up some players like Chol and Ginnivan have been a bit up and down.
They can kick goals, but their consistency is going to be an issue.
Yeah, that's it. Can you bank on them?
And in a team that's going to struggle to win a lot of games, they're still going to be a bottom third club, you would think. So it's going to be tough.
For me, I would have been thinking, is this a club who missed out on its wave 8 or priority defensive targets, and then in the end, did they get a bit rattled or did they jump a little bit? Not desperate's not the right word, but it was interesting. Jack Gunston, I don't know. I thought this was a club who was investing in its youth and building for the future. Are they getting Jack Gunston as a coach? Because I see value in that.
Yes.
I can't see him playing.
I value veterans at football clubs because of what they offer Monday to Friday. In the team, you now look at a team that is rebuilding, like you said. Hawthorn are still, not even halfway through their rebuild. They're still rebuilding, got years to go. Their forward line now is going to have a 32-year-old in Gunston, a 33-year-old in Bruce. Chad Wingard's 30. Marbiol Chol's 27. Mitch Lewis is about to turn 25. So it's not like it's a young forward line that's stacked with talent. So it's just something they've got to be aware of. Their midfield, no doubt, young talent everywhere. But the both ends of the ground, still going to be an issue.
Every year at the Herald Sun, Joey, we give out a winner of the trade period trophy, which is a little clipboard trophy. And
that'd be a big award to win.
We gave it to Adrian Dodoro in 2010. He's just never given it back. So it just lives on his mantelpiece. But you look at it on paper, and the Bombers, who got Dersma for basically nothing yesterday, come away with Gresham, Goldstein, Mackay, who's the big body defender, and Dersma. How have you rated Xavier Dersma? Because I remember him having a good first season, but I've been unsure about him since then. Bombers fans will be listening. What do you think about Xavier Dersma?
I will give my ratings on tomorrow's episode. Okay. I'm going to give where I rank the Bombers. But in regards to Xavier Dersma, I'm a bit like you. I did a little bit of work on him early in this trade period. I think he's a solid AFL player. I don't see the huge upside that maybe some others. Yeah. It felt to me watching him, his reputation probably exceeded what he's actually delivered. So he's played 70 or 80 games, and he hasn't had one game yet where it's been a breakout game where you go, oh, wow, that's what the kid's capable of. It's been a lot of sort of solid football. I know he's had some injury concerns. His best year was still his first year, and he's played 5. So you start to think, is this his lot? He'll get more opportunity at Essendon. I didn't think it was a desperate need. I think I like their wingers. I like Nick Martin. I'm a big fan of Sammy Durham. Yeah. I think Elijah Sardis is going to be probably an outside mid until he develops as an inside mid. A wingman fits there. So interesting, but hey, we can't question the Bombers. They've done really well. They haven't given up a lot. Yeah. And they add, whether it's depth or a quality player to their side, time will tell with Dersma. Yeah. But they should be very proud. What about Melbourne? Quickly, Jack Billings. They landed really late. Another one that is a player who had a period between 2017 2019, Jay-Z, high rating sort of period as a wingman. Yep. Half forward, 20-plus disposals. We know he can kick goals. Fell out of favour, had a few injury concerns. Do you like Melbourne landing Jack Billings and basically cost the Demons nothing? Yeah, it's a great question. I think with the spot that they're in, they can have the throw at the stumps with a high-talented player. I think his work rate competitiveness is the question mark, and perhaps he can be on the fringes of selection in the sense like they have got Cozzy Pickett, Shane McAdam, Charlie Spargo, Cade Chandler forward. Neil Bullen, like Lockie Hunter. Tom Sparrow still plays as a bit of a half-forward. So they've got a lot of those types of players. So whether he could potentially join in that mix, look, I don't know. I'm not a massive Jack Billings fan. I understand why St Kilda probably wanted him and Caulfield off the books. Now they're realigned their cap to get in a position to be more aggressive. I think he's just got to have the best preseason of his life, Jack Billings. I reckon we'll know more so in the next sort of 3, 4, 5 months. I think he can use the ball nicely, but Melbourne are a competitive team. Their brand is put your head in the oven, and that's what Clayton Oliver, Christian Petrarca, all those guys do. Will he be able to do that? You mentioned Clayton Oliver. This, for me, is probably, out of anything Melbourne's done over this off-season, and they've got Shane McAdam and Billings, which I think does bolster them a little bit. Yep. The biggest win will be if Clayton Oliver can come back to the football club next year in a really fit, healthy state of mind and body. Yep. What's the situation with Clayton Oliver, and what sort of I know it's quite early, but your expectations for next season? Yeah. So he's gone away into the country to have a bit of a break, so he's out of the city. Melbourne have thrown a lot of welfare support around him. I don't think it's necessarily about his physical fitness, it's about his mental fitness. Of course, Melbourne very confident that they can provide the support he needs to have a really big transformation in his life. We've seen it with Jordan De Goey. Our great mate Steve Johnson early on made some mistakes. He's a fellow who genuinely needs some help with some mental health issues. And I think Melbourne are in a really good spot to be able to help him, because we all want to see him fit and healthy, dominating next year. So I think when he comes back and starts training at Melbourne at Gosh's Paddock, it will be a big story. And Simon Goodwin, I think, is in Bali at the moment. He'll be back in a week or so time. And look, it's going to take a lot of time and effort to help get Clayton Oliver where he needs to be, but hopefully he can achieve those goals. And that is good news and good to hear, because they are absolutely in the window to have another crack at winning a flag next season. Maybe that might do us. I think that's a big day yesterday. Actually, there was one more. Yes, of course. Elijah Hollins. If he walked down Chapel Street, Carlton fans wouldn't pick him out of a police lineup, I don't reckon. Tell us about Elijah Hollins, because he was a pick 7. They got him for an absolute steal. Future third, I think. Future second or future third pick. So very cheaply. Tell us about what Elijah Hollins is going to add to the Carlton group. Well, firstly, my understanding is I think Gold Coast have sort of let him come back to Melbourne on compassionate grounds. I think there's some family situation there, so I think that was probably why they weren't going to fight too hard in regards to haggling over picks. Look, he's a high-end talent who fell out of favour with Stewie Dew. He was one that Stewie Dew had a set against him. Flanders was in that basket as well, a few others, but he's He's too good for VFL level. His second-tier football this year was too good.
Huge VFL grand final.
So a player that is better than that. He's, for me, a mid-forward. He can hit the scoreboard. He's probably more of an inside mid than he is an outsider. But, of course,
he's got a bit of power and speed.
Yeah, he's. I think you're going to see the best of Elijah Hollands. He's going to be reunited with his brother, which is always positive for family members to play in the same team. I think it's a good get by the Blues. Costs them nothing. Adds a little bit. They lose Zach Fisher and Paddy Dow. I don't think it's a huge skin off their teeth.
I think he's an upgrade potentially in both of those guys if he plays to his potential, Elijah Hollands.
Yeah, I agree. So it's a good get by the Blues. They, again, should be eyeing off a top 4 spot next year. But in saying that,
they can win it.
There's about 8 clubs, though, that are eyeing off a top 4 spot next year, if not more. So, now some good results. Good results. Hey, but stick with us for tomorrow's episode, Jay-Z, because you and I are going to go through the big winners, the big losers, the big headlines,
big shocks,
and our takeaways from trade period and who is set to launch in 2024. That is tomorrow's episode, so make sure you stay tuned for that one. And if you do have a question for us, make sure you get on Instagram at footytalk_pod or on TikTok at footytalkpod. Hit us up, hit Jay-Z with a question, and we will try and answer that. Until then, we'll look forward to tomorrow.